This is a video that I've wanted to make for a very long time. It's not something that I've taken lightly, and it's not something that I see as an easy thing to do. It's not. It really isn't. I don't like the words that are used to describe the situation that I've been through, so I do find it very hard to say them. And I've seen a lot of videos online, and they've not always been of this nature to describe it. And if anybody that is watching this has been through what I've been through, they may have triggers and they may suffer some sort of flashbacks because of what I'm talking about. And I want to make that clear from the beginning. I'm not making this video to upset anybody. I'm not making this video to hurt anybody, and I'm not doing it maliciously. For anybody that does know anybody involved in the situation, it's not a situation anymore. I don't see it as a situation anymore. I see it as a part of my life and a journey that I'm coming out of. I was sexually abused from the age of 6 up until the age of 19. I don't like talking about it, and it's through choice that I'm making this, because for a long time, since I started the whole process of going to the police and the whole process of telling people, and it was a long process in getting to the stage of where I went to the police. From the point of which I went to university in 2012 up until when it all came to an end in 2014. Yeah, 2014. It was a very long process in what I went through. And dates and things I'm not good at. I get them muddled and I get them confused, and I'm not very good at remembering dates. I was abused by my uncle, my mum's brother. And I am making this video because I feel like it's something that people don't realise goes on. It's not something people are aware of. And it's something that I feel more awareness needs to be made. And I feel like somebody like me making a video like this will help somebody somewhere. And that's what I want to do with this. I was 6 years old when it began. It began with, on a very, very rainy night in autumn. And we'd just been to McDonald's. We'd got back to the house, his house. I used to go and stay around his house because he had a daughter and my cousin, who I was quite close to. It's not... We made a den, we played like we used to as kids, and then we settled down in front of the TV because we were having a sleepover in the front room, and he sat between us and he started touching me when my cousin had fallen asleep. I knew it wasn't right, didn't know why, but I knew it was wrong. He stopped, and I just sort of forgot about it until the next time I was there, and then the next time, and the next time. And it got to a point where one night when I'd stayed there, that my sister had stayed as well, and we'd stayed in my cousin's bedroom, and I'd wet the bed. I was so scared of something happening to me that I'd wet the bed. So then I had to go and see him to go get some spare clothes. I tried to clean myself up in the bathroom, but he'd heard me awake. So he came in and he touched me again then. He gave me spare clothes and he just sent me off back to bed as if nothing had happened. This sort of routine, that was the only time that had happened. The whole wet in the bed scenario had happened in his house. My sister stopped staying around there. She only stayed around there a handful of times. Me and my cousin were a lot closer. And then we went on holidays. I went on holidays with him. My sister came on a holiday with him as well, with my cousin. And it gradually got more intimate. It's not intimate, it's not the right word. The touching became more increased into different areas of my body. The older I got, the more interested isn't the right word, the more I don't know the words to use. The more intense it got. And it went on for a long time. The older I got, the harder it was, because I knew it shouldn't be happening to me. But by that point, I was in this cycle that I didn't know how to get out of. I was on this roller coaster that I wanted to get off of, and I wanted to scream out from, but I just couldn't find my voice, and I couldn't find a way to stop it from happening. And I was already in this cycle that I couldn't stop. I was scared. I was very, very scared of my parents finding out. I was scared of my whole family finding out. I was worried that they would not believe me. That there would be doubt around it, because he was seen to be this man that was of a great public figure. He was seen to be... He was a well thought of person. He wasn't somebody you would expect that from, and it wasn't something people did expect from him. And that made it even harder for me to say anything, because I was doubtful of whether I would be believed. I didn't expect people to believe me, and I knew from the stories that I'd read how hard it is for people to come forward. I just struggled to come forward. When I went to university, I wanted to run away from Cambridge. I didn't want to be in Cambridge. I was ready to live my life as me, away from that whole situation. And I struggle being in Cambridge. I find it a very hard place to be. So I went to university in 2012 to study business management. It was a foundation degree. I was house sharing. It was me and Kate Jo, who was a very, very close friend of mine. And there was 3 boys in the house. Now, I clashed greatly with one of the boys in the house. I just couldn't click. We didn't click at all. At times we got on great, but majority of the time we didn't get on very well at all. The night before my birthday in 2012, we had a big bust up, and I really struggled with the confrontation with him. I really did. And it was in that argument that I told Katie Jo that I had been sexually abused, and I'm pretty sure she was taken aback by it, but she has helped me massively, and we talked about it. She didn't ask any questions, she talked about it as much as I wanted to talk about it. And then it was not long after that I told somebody on my course. what had happened, Rachel. We became like this trio through uni. We all stuck by each other quite a lot, and we're all really close. And they are friends for life because we've all helped each other out in a lot of things. Rachel, it was more of a calmer conversation that she found out about it. I can't remember exactly how Rachel found out about it, but I remember telling her. They did tell me that I should go forward with it and that I shouldn't hide it, but they didn't pressure me into going forward to the police. My lecturers found out because I was struggling, because I was dealing with it as opposed to hiding from it, and it was the start of the process of coming forward with it. After my first year of uni in 2013, the summer of 2013, I went back to Cambridge when I was 19. I spent some time with my uncle. Naively, I thought, I'm an adult, he won't do anything. But he did. And in that house there was some younger girls than myself. I can't remember their exact ages. They were exchange students, and in my head I was frozen with fear, primarily. But I also couldn't imagine it happening to them, and while he was doing it to me, he wasn't doing it to them, and I couldn't ever wish that on anybody else, ever. So I just let him carry on. I couldn't find the words to stop him. I just sat there and I just took it. And I feel like an idiot for doing it. I feel stupid for it happening, especially at that age. But I could not bring myself to let it happen to anybody else. And I felt at that moment, the next day of the last incidents that happened, I knew I couldn't hold this in anymore. I knew that I had to come forward at some point, but I didn't know when that would be. It wasn't long after the last incident that I did end up coming forward to my mum and dad, and they ended up finding out. Prior to that, I told my sister. I swore her to secrecy. It probably killed her to keep that secret. She's older than me. And she was a support for the weeks that she knew prior to mum and dad, because she would give me that reassuring glance that she knew, and she was trying to make me okay. There was a family argument, and it caused a lot of tension, and all of a sudden, with everything else that I was dealing with in my head, I couldn't cope with any more stress. I just couldn't, and it made me panic, and it made me want to just run away from it all. I just couldn't cope with it all. I just kept saying, I need to get out, I need to leave, I can't be here, I've got to go, I can't be in this house, I can't be in Cambridge, I've just got to leave. And at that point, my mum and dad just looked at me and they didn't know what to do. They sat me down, and I was hysterical. I was crying, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't stop, I couldn't find any words. And it was like I took this breath, and it was there, the words came to me, and I said to my mum, promise me you're not going to freak out, promise me you're not going to react, promise me you won't get angry at me. And she said, okay. And she goes, has something happened? And I said, yeah, but not recently, it's been going on for a while. And then I told her what my uncle had done to me. They were hurt. You could see that it had crushed them, and I knew in that moment my life was going to be different. And I had to be sure that I was ready for that. And that's probably why it took me so long to come forward, because I wasn't ready before that to tell people what had happened. in those 24 hours, everything in my life was different. The way my mum and dad look at me is different. It is hard. It's very, very difficult. It's very difficult to know that saying one sentence can change everything in how people handle you and how they talk to you. And sometimes people do walk on eggshells around me because they're scared of what they say. I went to the police the following day after telling my mum and dad. We drove to one police station that was closed. Then we went into the town centre where it was open. We waited for a good half hour to 45 minutes because I insisted that I had to speak to somebody. I wasn't going to report it on these phones that they have in the station. I had to speak to somebody. I had to wait for an officer to become available to do so, and I couldn't walk away and come back. I knew that if I was to leave the situation, I wasn't going back to it. I had to keep addressing it. At that point, I was ready to hit it head on, and I wanted to keep moving with it. I met with the police officer which was then in charge of my case for a while. And it took about 45 minutes for him to become available to speak to us. We were then taken into this little room. It was an interview room. I gave he asked me why we were there. He looked at me and I said, for the first time properly, I sat there and went, I'm here because my uncle had abused me. I broke down several times in that room. And it was weird. It was nothing I could describe. I went through the basic facts of what had happened. And we were given my details, his details, things like that. And it was given a basic picture of what had happened. We then left the police station and the officer said that they would be in touch with us. We got back in the car and I was shaken, and I messaged Katie Jo, Rach, and said, I've done it, I've gone to the police. I don't think they could believe it. They both offered to come see me, and I said, this is something that I need to deal with on my own first. I then went, because it was so close to going back to university for my second year, I then went to be video interviewed quite quickly after seeing the officer for the first time. Music became a big part of my life very quickly. It always has been, but in those few days, one song was released, and it was Katy Perry's, I don't know if you can see it, I've got a tattoo here. It was the song Raw. The lyrics just clicked with me straight off in the situation, and it's become a bit of my personal anthem in my life at the moment, and it will always stick with me because it was released at the same time, and the lyrics have really stuck with me, and so hence I got a tattoo to celebrate the part of my life where I did free myself from that aspect of my childhood. And I did the video interview with the police officer. It's not something you can ever be ready for. It's not something that you can prepare yourself for. It's not something that you can brace yourself for. It's a very, very strange setup to be in, and to be in a room like that, and to be given these details of your body to somebody you don't know. These things that have been secrets and hidden things for so long, that suddenly one thing comes out of your mouth and it all starts unravelling, and you don't even realise how much has happened. There was one aspect of the assaults and the incidences and things that I didn't tell that particular police officer straight off, and that was that I was also raped by my uncle. I was raped more than once. I didn't say that in my second interview. I only told them about one incident. It's not something that I was ready to address at the time, and I still am not ready to speak about it fully. It's a very hard aspect of it that I don't like speaking about, and I speak about very matter-of-factly the whole aspect. As soon as I link my emotions to it, I struggle, and I can't cope with it. By staying by distancing myself from it, emotionally, I can talk about it like this. I don't want to cry about it. I've cried about it enough. And I mean more than enough. And at times I do get pent up and I do get frustrated and I do end up crying about it. But now I feel able to talk about it and able to discuss it. And the police officers in charge of my case did change. The original officer interviewed those that I had disclosed what had happened to me to. He came all the way to Bournemouth to do so, because that's where everybody was. I celebrated my 20th birthday in style. I felt like a new chapter of my life had begun, and I wasn't hiding any aspect of myself. I was still struggling with certain aspects, and I did drink quite heavily through the time period. I knew when they were going to arrest him. They phoned me and told me it was going to be the following day. So that I was aware what was going on. I was in touch with the officers throughout the period. Katie Jo was my rock throughout the whole thing. I couldn't fault her in any aspect. She dealt with everything incredibly. So did Rach and the other people that were there supporting me and my family and such. Katie Jo took the brunt of everything that I was going through, massively. Rach did at times too. And so did somebody else called Annie. When I met her, she's heard about certain aspects of it. But primarily Katie Jo she was there. She was there through everything and knows everything to do with it. It was hard knowing that he was going to be arrested, knowing that then everybody else was going to find out. Prior to him being arrested, I had been to counselling so that I had coping mechanisms with that. I didn't know that they were going to work until he had been arrested. Me and Katie Jo were in Longley Safari Park when I got the phone call to say, it was a mid-afternoon, to say he had been arrested, he'd been questioned, and that he had said no comment to every single thing that they asked him. I don't think I was shocked at that at all. I wasn't surprised by it. I didn't expect him to say, hold his hands up and say, yeah, I did all those things. I wasn't expecting that at all. I did want it to go to court. It never made it to court. He committed suicide not long after being taken in for questioning by the police. And I got a phone call from my mum the following day. The police had gone to her house and told her. She then phoned me the following day because she wanted me to know firsthand. I can't even begin to explain how I felt when I found out that he had died. There were so many different emotions. I was angry, I was relieved, I was hurt, I was upset, I was confused, I was in shock. I was very, very angry about it. I was angry that he took away not only all those things he took away from me in my childhood, my virginity, my innocence, certain aspects of my happiness, and then he also took away my right to see him stand trial. that was very hard to deal with, and I still now find that very hard to deal with. But then he took away so much from me that, was I surprised that he kept control all the way up until the end? No, probably not. I went back to Cambridge. Katie Jo came with me. It was very, very weird. I saw family and obviously addressed the aspect that he had abused me. They were aware of that prior to me seeing them. And it was very, very weird. It was a very weird situation to be in. But once they knew, it was a relief. It was a relief for people to know. I still struggle with it now. I'm 22. I'm not a child. I'm classed as an adult. But there will always be a part of me that is struggling to deal with it in certain situations. And it's not something that just goes away. I can't click my fingers and I can't close my eyes and it will be gone, because it won't be. It will always be there, a part of my life. It's not something that I wish to hide in my life, and there are many other videos that will come as a part of this that will explain this in more detail, and I hope that by making these videos that I will help somebody come forward and realise that you can come forward and you can be happy and you can live your life normally to some extent. I wouldn't say I am normal. But you can move forward from it and you can come forward. And I hope that I can continue to make these videos and people will share them with people that they know. And I want to raise awareness that it doesn't happen to just any... It doesn't happen to nobody, it happens to anybody. It can happen to your friend, your best friend, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your son, your brother, your sister, it can happen to anybody. And I want to be proof that is the case. And if there's one thing that people can take away from this video that I'm making right now, it's not an easy topic to speak about. It is something that people don't like talking about, but it needs to be made into something that can be spoken about. Because it isn't a secret. I don't see it as a secret. There are going to be other videos like this on this channel, and some of them I won't be able to speak so matter-of-factly about, and some of them I will really struggle with. I've spoken about the general gist of my journey through everything, and I will break it down into various stages and make separate videos about each aspect. I just wanted to get this first one out of the way and break the ice with the topic, and for myself more than the people watching it, but also for the people watching it to know it is something that is going to be spoken about and can be spoken about. And for people who know me, heads up, you don't have to speak to me about it if you don't want to. For people who don't know me, share and crack on with sharing it and raising awareness, because I want to raise awareness of this area of my life and also this topic in society in general. I hope that people do find these videos that I'm going to be making useful and that they can discuss it in the comments. Please be aware that they are people's feelings. I do have a thick skin, but also it is people's feelings. If you want to follow these videos and where they head, if you want to see more about myself and my daily life, there are going to be other videos on this channel too. So you can subscribe and follow all aspects of the videos that I'm going to be posting here. And I hope that somebody somewhere this has helped them realise that there are people out there who have been through it and are still going through it, but they are okay, and it is going to be okay. There is a day when it is going to be alright.